So I'm Roberta Bobicki, and I'm the CEO at Revelstoke Credit Union. I've been in the credit union system 42 years now, and the CEO for the last 13. My career has basically been a lifetime lender. Our credit union is 210 million in assets. We also have an insurance subsidiary, and so overall we have just over 50 employees. And Revelstoke Credit Union's been incorporated since 1963.
Has the pandemic impacted business?
Middle of March, basically March 11th, we just sort of had a real eye-opening awareness of what was going on. Revelstoke is an international tourist destination spot. We have a world-class ski hill here, heli skiing, snowmobiling, all of that sort of thing. And right out of the gate, middle of March, we heard that there was 4 diagnosed cases of COVID-19 in our small community of just over 7,000 people. So everyone basically really stood at attention right away. So with our, I don't know if you want me to just go into this, but what we did basically in a 10-day period was we went from the hyper cleaning and reducing contact with members appointment based, unless it was frontline or at the insurance office. A couple of days later, we said, okay, this is escalating. So we reduced our hours for a couple of days. And by the end of that first week, we just realized we needed to do something further. In the meantime, I had sourced material. We had sneeze guards built for all of our member-facing employees. But by the end of the week, we just said, no, we have to take it the next step further. So what we actually chose to do is we closed our premises, both insurance and the credit union, to public access. There was a collective sigh of relief breathed from all of our employees. They were so appreciative of that, to know that they were being taken out of harm's way, at least while they were at work. And right from day one, we started changing the delivery of our services, and they were so committed to making it work. I had a lot of press releases within the community, lots of contact and communication with the staff. And we found we're going on to just about a month now, and there's not a service that we've not been able to provide to our members. So as far as impacting business from the service delivery point of view, it has really, really gone well and been extremely well received by the community. Revelstoke Credit Union has a strong reputation for social responsibility in the community, and we are hearing nothing but appreciation and commendations for how the staff is handling all of their inquiries.
Wow, that's fantastic. Before the pandemic, how did you approach work from home, or did you approach it?
So prior to that, our management team prior to the pandemic was all hooked up and had the capability to work from home, do the VPN, and they could get right into their desktop from home. Most of them still worked in the office, but they had access off hours and on weekends. What happened after we decided that everyone else was going to need the ability to work from home, we have an information systems department with 2 employees, Todd and Maya, and they just dug right in, and in record time, they had the majority of the employees up and able to actually work from home. So F12 was really instrumental in helping get that going once we kind of figured out who we needed to contact and work out the kinks and the bumps. So now we probably have half the staff working in the office and half of them working from home.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you still got quite a few in the office then?
Yeah, we have our staff, there's 50 of them. Everyone remains on the payroll and everyone continues to work full time.
That's awesome. Very cool. And from a client perspective, have you seen any any impacts from volumes or anything like that?
Not so much. Of course, changing the delivery method, we're doing a lot more manual. We're encouraging people, if they want to pay bills that they normally would have come in the branch for, we're encouraging them to drop those sorts of things into the night deposit. What's been interesting, once we shifted from the whole premise and looking after the staff and the members perspective, I had to shift over to then thinking about the financial impact. So what we did for a couple of week period is we just asked for people with pending loans and mortgages, just give us a minute to catch our breath, because there's no question when every business in town except essential services is closed, that affects cash flow. It's far reaching. So I needed some time to kind of get a grip on all of that.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And I think it'll be interesting to see through the experience what will kind of permanently change in terms of how businesses operate.
Yeah.
Are there changes in your business that you foresee being adopted long term?
Absolutely. In all honesty, Brad, when you are forced to try something out like this and it's worked so successfully, I don't think we'll ever go back to doing business exactly the same as we used to. A small credit union in a small community will always be required to have a face-to-face offering. But I think that our members' behavior and how they do their banking will have shifted so much that I can see a lot of them not going back to that old way of having the face-to-face. Yeah.
That's really interesting to hear about some of those lasting changes that may happen. So it sounds maybe around communication with clients and kind of interaction transactions. Is that kind of where you see probable change happening?
It is. I mean, I can see lenders, if clients have an interest in doing, a Teams type interview like this, instead of taking 2 hours out of their day, I could have a lender sitting at home having a virtual interview with a potential borrower, and then your only point of contact is basically document signing, and there's a lot of people that actually I think would prefer that than interrupting their day and coming and sitting in an office for 2 hours basically. Yeah, I can see it in wealth services as well. Where it gets a little tricky is the front line and our seniors that still get their checks in the mail. I know the government has really worked towards trying to get everybody to have them electronically deposited. But there's still going to be a need, I think, for face-to-face with that. And then the ICBC on the insurance end of things, it was wonderful that they came up with being able to renew your ICBC insurance over the phone as well. So, yeah, I do think services will be shifting for sure. Because we're a credit union, I don't ever want to lose that personal touch with people, because especially for us smaller ones, that is what sets us apart, is we do have the volumes of employees that we have to provide that personal service. So I'm hoping that it doesn't ever come to where there's 90% no contact, but definitely there'll be a shift.
Right. Interesting. Okay. And have you kind of touched on it there, have you seen flexibility, notable flexibility from vendors, partners through this time?
Absolutely. Yeah. Our community, as I said, really has taken this pandemic seriously. And so I've experienced a real openness from our vendors, from our partners. Let's figure out how to make this work where it works for everyone. Haven't really, in early days, there were a couple of naysayers that, well, this is just terrible and you shouldn't be doing this. But I've only had one complaint in nearly a month about the fact that we were closed and the banks were open. And yet when you hear people that are trying to make contact with the banks, they're so overwhelmed with requests for payment relief that there's 1 and 2 hour waits at their call centers. So I think that we're knocking it out of the park by the fact that somebody phones and within 2 minutes they're talking to a person. Yeah.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, thanks.
And in terms of communication, so kind of shifting a little bit to how are you communicating with the team through the crisis? I know in the beginning of the call we kind of touched on it, but maybe if you could just kind of describe a little bit how that format and maybe cadence has changed with your staff, with maybe customers, and or suppliers.
Sure. So communication has been really, really important through this, and we've always been a strong communicating credit union to start with, but I really, really ramped it up right from the get-go when this issue came about, because people fear what they don't understand, and if they don't have the information, you leave yourself open to people coming up with, if they're not being told what's happening and what we're doing, then they're going to just sort of think the worst probably. So at the front end, as far as the staff went, I was in the office at the time when we had our initial communications, and was just very candid and honest with them. I actually accepted a lot of feedback. Then when we shifted where I wasn't working from home, I am in touch through Teams. We try for the overall meeting as frequently as possible, once every couple of weeks. The management team, I connect with each manager on a daily basis. There's a really strong communication flow going on there. As far as our external partners, I'm probably doing 3 to 5 conference calls a day. Yeah.
Wow.
So communication lines are wide open.
All right. More specifically in terms of shifts, how have you seen shifts in how technology is used?
Well, it's absolutely come to the top of the pile. We've had the ability, now we're actually using it. And, we shifted over to F12 a couple of years ago, and I don't intend this to be an ad for F12, but had we not, we would not have been in the perfect position that we were to handle this, to shift to doing our business through technology as opposed to face-to-face. We had all the tools at our fingertips and just a few glitches to work out to kind of massage it into what we needed the systems to do for us. And I'm so thankful that we made that change 2 years ago. As well as for the the increase in cybercrime and the attacks and that sort of thing. I sleep really well at night knowing that I don't in-house have to worry about who's trying to do a brute force attack. Du jour.
Yes, absolutely. And just to kind of round out the discussion here, for the benefit of other businesses and business leaders, have you found something that works really well? And that's a very open-ended question. But is there something that's kind of top of mind that you said, gosh, this has really been key to our kind of leading the transformation through the pandemic?
I would probably narrow that down twofold. Number one, communication, as I was saying, with the public in general. The press releases that I did along the way, I probably did 4 press releases within a 2.5 week period that were very specific and made it very clear what our intentions were and reassuring that our services were still absolutely there to be delivered. So communication was huge. And part 2 of that was to be really reassuring as to the fact that services are not discontinued. We're not closed for business. We're not at risk of going under. We're a very, very strong credit union. So to maintain the confidence in your customer of the service that you're providing. And again, I couldn't be prouder of our staff. Right from day one, they started getting that sense of confidence in the public, building it right from day one of the new delivery of services. Just amazing what they've done, really.
Thank you so much, Roberta. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, you too, Brad. Thanks
And
for
enjoy
thinking
the rest.
of me.
Yeah, no, you bet.